Hey everyone, welcome back, Nomad Flair here. Today we're diving into the brand new RG34XX from Anbernic. This retro handheld carries specs similar to what we've seen from the brand before, but its design is sure to spark some nostalgia from the early 2000s. Why? Because it's inspired by the iconic Game Boy Advance. I absolutely love the design. Like many of you, I grew up owning and playing the Game Boy Advance, so it holds a special place in my heart. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the design, build quality, specs, and gameplay performance. Then we'll wrap things up by weighing the pros and cons to help decide if it's worth picking up or not. Before we dive into the review, I just wanted to mention that 2 Retro sent me this unit for review. However, all opinions shared in today's video are my own after 2 weeks of testing. Alright, let's get into it. The Anbernic RG34XX comes in a variety of iconic retro colors, including purple, green, red, black, and glacier. Honestly, all the colors look fantastic and capture nostalgic aesthetic beautifully. The standalone price for the RG34XX is $80, but you also have the option to purchase it bundled with an SD card that comes with preloaded ROMs. As you can see, the number of games included are shown here, and the price increases by $10 for each upgrade. However, 2 Retro are offering 15% off, and you can also get an additional 10% off if you use my code NOMADFLAIR at the checkout. This will bring your total down to just $68. So if you are interested, I've included a link down in the description below. The Anbernic RG34XX comes in this compact box, and inside you're greeted with the retro handheld itself with a few accessories. Included in the box are the screen wipes, a screen protector, an instructions manual, a wrist strap that attaches conveniently to the side, and a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. It's worth noting that you should stick to using the provided cable for charging, because using a faster cable may result in the device not charging at all. As you can see, the RG34XX has a nostalgic aesthetic, resembling a retro handheld from the early 2000s. While it's slightly chunky, it remains pocket-friendly, perfect for those seeking a lightweight, portable gaming experience without sacrificing too much screen real estate. Speaking of lightweight, it only weighs 328 grams. The build quality is solid, made entirely of durable plastic, with a design reminiscent of the classic Game Boy Advance, but with a few additional buttons to enhance the gameplay. On the front, we have the D-pad, which can make diagonal presses a bit tricky, especially during fighting games, where I sometimes found my fingers smudging the screen. However, for non-fighting games, the D-pad works smoothly with no issues. Below the D-pad are the small start and select buttons, which have a rubber membrane connection. Like the D-pad, they are also silent when pressed. Next, we have the face buttons, the typical B and A buttons, along with 2 additional buttons, which were not present on the original Game Boy Advance. It's worth noting that on the purple models, these buttons are unmarked, so you'll need to remember that the right button is X and the left button is Y. With the other colored models, the buttons are perfectly marked. This button layout works perfectly well with most systems, especially for PlayStation games, as it mimics the cross-button layout of the controller. Below the face buttons is the front-facing speaker. Here's a sound test of how loud it gets on full blast. It is impressively loud, but honestly, I'll never use it at full blast. Finally, there's a power indicator light, which you can turn off in the settings if you prefer. On the top of the RG34XX, you'll find the reset button, a USB-C charging port, a mini HDMI port, perfect for connecting to a TV or monitor, and a menu button. Below these are the dual microSD card slots. On the sides, there are 2 shoulder buttons, which are well sized to accommodate most fingers, and below that we have the triggers, which are thoughtfully placed on the second layer of the casing. This clever positioning minimizes accidental presses, ensuring that they don't interfere with your gaming experience. At the bottom, you'll find the power button, along with a unique addition, a spring-loaded dial switch for volume control. The dial is not only tactile and functional, but can also adjust screen brightness when used in combination with the menu button. Finally, there's also a 3.5mm headphone jack for those that still enjoy quality wired audio. When it comes to ergonomics, the RG34XX fits comfortably in the hands. I typically place both index fingers behind the shoulder buttons, which makes it easy to quickly maneuver and press the triggers or shoulder buttons during gameplay. My left thumb rests on the D-pad, while my right thumb covers the face buttons. Meanwhile, my middle fingers wrap around the battery compartment, and the remaining 4 fingers fold along the bottom edges for added stability. Now, moving on to the visuals. The RG34XX features a 3.5-inch IPS screen with a 720 by 480 resolution. While there are higher quality screens on the market, those often comes with a significantly higher price point. This screen, however, is fully laminated, delivering crisp visuals and a great gaming experience. Its aspect ratio is ideal for Game Boy Advance titles. Though some systems may display side bezels, it doesn't distract from the overall experience. Under the hood, the device is powered by an all-winner H700 quad-core ARM Cortex-A53 CPU clocked up to 1.5 GHz. The GPU is a dual-core G31MP2 paired with 1 GB of LPDDR4 RAM. The operating system is 64-bit Linux. On top of that, the device includes built-in Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.2, and a 3500 mAh battery, which provides around 5 to 6 hours of gameplay. When powered on, you can access various systems under the Game ROMs or RA Game. As you can see, there's a wide selection of pre-installed ROMs available to play right away. And of course, you also have the option to add your own ROMs as well. The UI is intuitive and beginner-friendly, displaying the title names on the left and the box art on the right. After 2 weeks of use, I found that the RG34XX delivers solid emulation performance up to the PS1, decent support for N64 titles, however more on that in a moment. But of course, that said, the screen and the buttons shine especially when playing Game Boy Advance titles, as they utilize the full screen and provide an excellent gaming experience. The controls perform as expected for a Game Boy Advance themed handheld. You can also customize your experience by adding shaders, enabling cheats, or adjusting scaling through RetroArch, which is accessible via the menu button at the top. Game Boy and Game Boy Color games run perfectly, though the 4.3 aspect ratio games may appear slightly small due to the 3.2 aspect ratio of the screen. But again, this doesn't hinder the experience. For N64 games, the performance does vary. Some games run really well, while others struggle due to the absence of a joystick. If a game doesn't work as expected, you can try pressing the Y button on the game title to change the emulator core, and this might resolve the issue. However, keep in mind when playing N64 titles, the image can sometimes appear slightly squashed, but tweaking the scaling settings can improve the display. For example, when playing Castlevania, I initially couldn't move when using the D-pads, which rendered the game unplayable. However, toggling the power button resolved the issue, and the game ran perfectly afterwards, with crisp audio to match. So if you encounter D-pad issues, this workaround might actually help. PS1 games also played well and looked great visually. For example, Tekken 3 looked amazing with vibrant colors and smooth gameplay. I didn't make any tweaks, and what you see is straight out of the box. But like I said previously, you can always customize the settings to suit your preference. I also encountered similar results when playing PSP games as well, and I was generally impressed with the performance on a budget device like this. While high-demanding PSP games may experience occasional frame skips, they remain playable overall. Dreamcast games, in my opinion, performed even better than the N64 titles. This was surprising, but certainly a welcome bonus for a device at this price point. As for the screen brightness, it's worth noting that it's not very bright for outdoor play, which can be a bit limiting. However, indoors the brightness is perfectly fine and it doesn't pose any issues whatsoever. So do keep that in mind depending where you plan to use the device. Okay, so let's wrap it up with the pros and the cons. So starting off with the pros. I really love how compact it is and how it slips into my pocket. Yes, there is a bit of a bulge, but it's not that noticeable. The nostalgic Game Boy Advance inspired design just looks beautiful and brings back memories from the past. The sharp and fully laminated IPS screen looks beautiful when playing PS1 games, PSP games, and even retro games. A big pro is the affordability. This will only cost you around $68 if you use my coupon code, which is an excellent price point for beginner retro gamers. The build quality is excellent, and so are the tactile buttons. The thoughtful trigger placement is excellent, as it prevents me from mistakenly pressing the triggers. And lastly, of course, the different retro color options available. And now moving on to the cons. So the biggest con for me was the size of the D-pad, which was actually smaller than expected, which of course may not suit everyone's fingers. The bigger the fingers you have, the more likely to end up smudging the screen. The lack of an analog stick does limit the compatibility, especially when playing N64 games. But overall, in my opinion, if you're a fan of the original Game Boy Advance form factor and you're looking for something that's affordable, portable, and packed with retro gaming aesthetics, then I believe that the RG34X is an excellent choice for you. Of course, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, and of course there are other retro handhelds out there that are even better. So everyone, I hope you found this video to be useful. Leave me know down in the comment section below if you're planning on picking this up, or if you already own an existing retro handheld. As always, the link is down in the description below alongside the coupon code. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell for more content. Thanks for watching. Nomad Flair signing out.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.